Hello, this is Colin Reed, and these are my results from experiment number 2 of PostLab number 9. And the only real functional difference between this one and experiment 1 is that I used the DFF in order to allow the data values from the alarm to be stored. And then I also added the reset switch that'll, turn off the alarm once the user wants it to be turned off. So just to kind of explain everything again, just to refresh, key number 3 is going to be my door motion sensor. Key 2 is going to be my window motion sensor. Key 1 is the motion sensor number 1. And key 0 is going to be motion sensor number 2. Switch number 9 is going to be my alarm, to say if it's armed, I should say. Switch number 8 is going to be the away, to know if the occupants of the residence are away. And then I programmed switch 6 as the clock for the DFF. And switch number 5 is the reset. It'll turn off the alarm once the values are saved. And the LED number 9 is still the output of the function as I had it before. So this might be a little tricky to demonstrate with one hand, but so since it's a clock, the values actually won't be affected unless I switch the, or I should say, since it was a DFF, the values won't be affected unless I switch the clock. But so if, let's say, I hold down the motion sensor number 1 and flip the clock just to show, and nothing will happen. Oh, there we go. All right, so nothing happens. And then when I do, let's say, just to show, boom. So this shows that the alarm is active, but the users are home. So only motion sensors at the door and the window would activate it. So when I hold the door and flip the clock, this time it should activate. Perfect. And then now it'll say saved even when my hands are off of it. And in order to reset that, I use switch number 5, which will turn it off. There you go. And now I'll just show a few more examples just to show everything's still working the same. So now it's the away switch is switched to 1, showing occupants are away. Now if I do any of the switches, so let's say motion sensor number 1 and then the clock, it'll stay activated. Perfect. And then if I do, let's say, well, I guess I'll reset it first. Reset turns it off. And if I do, let's do 2 of the motion sensors and switch number 6. There we go. It's a little tricky to do this with one hand, but there you go. And then I can reset it. And that's pretty much it. Most of the functionality is the same as experiment 1, except for obviously the reset switch and having to use the clock. I prefer to have the clock on, kind of the clock and the reset on a push button, but since these are all taken up by motion sensors already, it still worked with the switches, but it wasn't as preferred for me. But otherwise, that's it for this lab, and I will be back with the final experiment.